everyone. We're happy to be here today and on this panel discussion in launching and marketing a restaurant. We're going to have, as I said, starting from your left to right, Adrian Escobedo. He's a health inspector. Amalia Marino-Damgard. She's a chef, award-winning author and chef. We have Erasmo Cassiano. He's an award-winning restaurateur, owns 3 concepts based out of Denver, Colorado. I should have said the one in Texas. Amalia is out of Minnesota. And then Ludovina Cantu, she's out of Houston. So we have health inspector, chefs, authors, and other caterers to show you about all different restaurants. And today's panel is they're going to share their insights on key components necessary for effective marketing and provide a roadmap to create a successful go-to-market strategy. It's going to cover crucial topics such as labor challenges, inflation, market saturation, competition, and the importance of a solid go-to-market strategy. So please save your questions for the end. We'll have a Q&A period for that time frame. And the first question, we're going to start with Erasmo, and everybody's going to answer each question, and then we'll ad-lib as we go along. And it's inflation. With the rising prices of ingredients, labors, and utilities, they've increased dramatically over the last few years. Considering these rising costs, what are you doing to maintain your profit margins? Have you had to raise your menu prices? And if so, how do you communicate this to your customers? Erasmo, we'll start with you.
Sure, thank you. Can everybody hear me? Like okay-ish? Fantastic. Thank you in the back. See, that's all I need right there, thumbs up. Thank you so much, it's a great question. When it comes to inflation, obviously no one is gonna be immune to that. So something that we've really done well so far in our restaurants, and I always say so far, because we're 6 years into our group, and I just opened up my last restaurant, Restaurante y Bar, in Denver about 3 weeks ago. So something that we do really, really well is change the perceived value of the dishes that we have on our menu. That way we can actually work on, let's call it offcuts, Not everybody can sell lengua, but I can sell lengua, I can sell lengua for $18 a plate. How do we do that? Well, we make sure that perception of value when they walk into the space says, oh, this is gonna warrant a nice little high ticket price, it's gonna be a nice little date night, et cetera, so forth. That way I don't have to put scallops on the menu. That way I don't have to put halibut on the menu. That's $16 to $22 a pound. That way I don't have to use all these items that are easily sellable. Filet mignon, easy sell, $27 a pound. Ribeye, $32 a pound. Strip, all these items that are very, very easy to sell, we've been avoiding since we opened up even Lucina. Lucina, we're able to give that perception of value within our food, which is Latin American, mind you, and have people go, oh yeah, I'm paying top dollar for this because it's well worth it. That's kind of like the strategy we've been using, is just changing people's mindset on what is worth what.
Right. And one of the things we're doing at the Hispanic Restaurant Association, everybody, is part of that perceived value we bring to educate and elevate. When I say elevate, the Hispanic cuisine already belongs amongst the best cuisines in the world. Our goal is to, like I said, that perception. Amalia?
In my world, I am not a restaurant owner. I am a hybrid. I have a corporate background, and I am a professional chef, and I, by choice, decided to become a full-time entrepreneur. So I have in my business the components of, say, a fine dining restaurant, a business component, and the component of also, catering. So for me, it's about contract prices. I think that food cost, with inflation, food cost is what affects all of us. However, for me, it's the whole package, because when I present, oftentimes it's adding value in other ways, such as cultural background, storytelling, telling stories behind the menu. And every year I make adjustments to my contracts. So that is already in my business model. So when it comes down to adjust prices now for inflation and food prices, which is something that has affected us all, especially in the last 2 years, where food prices are even higher, I have adjusted my contract prices also higher. Now, my client base, I have a niche business. My client base is corporate. So it's easier for me to raise prices in a corporate setting than it would be for a retail or individual. So when I raise prices, I have a threshold, and I don't advertise that. I know that because I change this every year. So because my corporate clients have different needs, I customize. As I customize, that adds value. I give them what they want. My core is education about Latin American culture and history, and most of the time, they don't budge because I adjust prices, but I also show value in other ways. I show value in education. I tell them stories, but I also change all the menus that I present constantly, and I customize again for every client.
Oh, very nice. Ludovina, what are you about to talk about? How she combats inflation
Yes,
in her
please.
catering company.
¿Me puedes traducir, Amalia?
¿Cómo te afecta la inflación y el alza de precios en tu negocio de catering?
Ok. Constantemente, si se me escucha, constantemente estamos viendo que los precios incrementan mucho. Nuestro mercado, nosotros no somos un restaurante, nuestro mercado no nos compra un plato, no nos compra una mesa de 10. Nuestro mercado nos compra 200 platos, 300, 400 y más. Entonces sí nos vemos en la necesidad de llegar a acuerdos con nuestros proveedores. Realmente tenemos una relación muy cercana para mantener los precios dentro de que nosotros no estemos constantemente aumentando nuestro menú debido a que tenemos programados eventos hasta por 2 años.
Could you make a pause so I can translate? Pause.
Sorry.
Pausa. I can't retain so much. Okay, so because she is in the catering business, not a restaurant, her contracts or her business is to serve 200, 300 people or more at a time. The way they are dealing with the rise in prices is that they have very good relationships with their providers. So they're able to negotiate prices, and that has allowed them to continue to grow.
Thank you. Y también tenemos una comunicación muy transparente con nuestros clientes, ya que son clientes fijos, mayormente son venues, son event centers, y tenemos esa comunicación de explicarles el motivo cuando tenemos algún incremento en los precios. Asimismo, en nuestras publicaciones.
So their client base, it's also a repeat business. They have a very good relationship with their clients. They have a very transparent communication with them. They explain to them why they are increasing prices.
All right, very good.
Gracias.
So I'm going to move on to the next. Adrian, we're going to wind up with you. What have you seen from a health department perspective that has helped restaurants save on inflation and food costs?
Absolutely. It's a good question. The best thing you can do to avoid throwing away food is know how to control bacteria, not contaminate a product. Because if you get a product that you just cooked, expensive as it is could be, lengua, whatever it is, you don't cool it down correctly, you put it inside the walk-in cooler, it's going to spoil in a matter of hours. You get it? So the way you handle food, the way you not only handling the growth of bacteria, viruses, right? The other one is your contamination when it comes to your plates. Having the proper concentration too as well. That's how you control the cost of food too, and avoiding a customer getting sick. and then not coming back to your restaurant too. That's the other thing too. Just because you didn't know how to control the growth of bacteria, time and temperature control, and date marketing, that's the other thing too as well. I mean, it's a big contribution. I mean, I can have food out of temperature a couple of times, and I can expend it out to 10 hours because I know how to control it, reheating, and keeping my thermometers present to it.
So
yeah.
through food safety, we can save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Through contract pricing, we can save a
Yeah.
lot of money.
I was going to say that's a
We probably need to work like this. It sounds a little bit better.
I was going to say that's a really good point. You know, as chefs, we don't think about that part because it comes to second nature. You know, be safe, wash your hands, all these things. But on that end, we don't have a walk-in cooler in one of my restaurants, but we do like 170 covers on a Friday, Saturday. Okay, so the way we do it is like he said, especially this is just like what do you call it? Just on your day-to-day. We cool everything down to room temperature. We lay it all as flat as possible within that first hour after prep. From there, we're able to put it into, we have a designated reach-in cooler where we start to cool things down to below 40 degrees, and then we store it. So all that happens within the first 3 hours of that item being prepped. And he's right. I have little to no spoilage because of that, and I'm able to stretch out that product for the longevity of how it lasts. Now, luckily for me, we do enough turns that we have nothing that's older than 2 days. But those things that don't get cooled down correctly,
They spoil
you
within
see it
hours.
quickly too. You see it really fast, especially when all you have is reach-in coolers.
Exactly.
That's a really good point.
Because even if you cool it down correctly, like I said, from 135 to 70 in 2 hours or less, from 70 to 41 in 4 hours or less, as long as you keeping it at 41, it lasts 7 days. I know you turn it around real quick in a couple of days, but that's how you're able to save it and you're not throwing food away. That's how you save money too.
That's a great point. We need to educate people about that.
Yes.
So there's several ways to do that. Those are great answers. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the second question. And it's competition in a saturated market. When you opened your business, your catering business, your restaurant, it seemed like a great idea. And everybody has a great idea, and there's a lot of great food out there. And now it seems like there's a restaurant in every corner. Some taqueria or a new restaurant, some new concept. And there's competition everywhere. What strategies are you using to differentiate your operation from competitors in terms of food, style, decor, dining experiences, services? And how are these efforts helping you maintain and grow your market share? So we'll start with Erasmo again.
Oh, sure. Thank you. I might not answer the question in its normal capacity. For freestanding restaurants, I think the most important thing that we need to understand is that there is no competition if you're looking at your neighbors as neighbors. More people that come to the block is more money for you, more money for them, etc. Okay? For example, Chiquita Restaurante y Bar opened across the street from Las Delicias, authentic Mexican food. Okay? They are a little skittish to start, with me, but I'm a badger. I'm gonna knock on your door and be like, let's be friends. Come on, let's do this thing. Because guess what? I don't offer buckets of beer. You do. I don't offer chips and salsa and chimichangas. You do. Okay, so for the people that are looking for that, or the people that are looking to have a nice time out without any too much to think about, we're just like, oh yeah, we're full tonight, but please go see our friends at Las Delicias because their success is our success. If I, as a competitor, end up closing down the other restaurants, that's less people on the block. That's less market share. Okay, so if we look at a market share if we look at our market share as the entire block itself and start driving people to each other's businesses, that's where I find we see more success. So for example, Lucina, my first restaurant, opened up on a block next to a French restaurant and a wine bar across the street. Okay, and I literally said this, ice cream spot goes right next door and this block is complete. Okay, the French spot ended up closing down. Okay. Not because of us, they were just like, oh, 17 years, I'm tired, right? I was like, no, I just moved in, what are you doing, right? And so guess who takes over? Another French restaurant. Now, I went over there, I was knocking on the door, let's be friends, let's be friends, let's be friends. And next thing you know, we're tossing each other business right to left, front to back to the wine bar. Wine bar comes over and is like, this is great. Our sales are up 25%. I'm like, that's fantastic. My sales are up 100% because we just opened, right? So And then the French restaurant's just like, oh, this is nice. And guess what opened up next door? Ice cream spot. So now we're seeing commerce coming to the block, parking, walking through, being like, I don't have a reservation. Oh, guess what? Go next door. You know what? Skip dessert here because I need to get to the table for the next reservation. There's ice cream next door. Tell them I sent you. And there's lines coming in and out of the door. That is how you use what you have around you and not look at it as competition, but an opportunity.
But synergy amongst all the businesses. Very good.
That's it.
Amalia?
Yes, I will say that for me, it's about being authentic. My core is Guatemalan, and from there I expand to the rest of Latin America. My storytelling connected to cultural history, healthy cooking techniques, artisan cuisine is paired with innovation as well. Nowadays, sustainability is very important. It has always been important, but we are paying more attention to sustainability in a business, in a restaurant, in a farmer relationship. And innovation for me comes from that. It's a very holistic approach because the way I approach my business is everything is connected. And from there, I innovate. And when I innovate, I'm also in this movement that it's a more plant-forward environment where the food that we consume in Latin America, the food that is traditional to Latin America, oftentimes start very, very, very healthy and in many instances vegan. And there are unhealthy aspects of Latin American cuisine, but I make those unhealthy aspects of Latin American cuisine into healthy aspects. I teach people how to create a meal at home for health and wellness. I tell people to cook with their kids, to instill the Latin culture in them, but also to instill the love for good and healthy eating. So for me, maintaining my authenticity, doing stories, encouraging people, teaching people online and in person, doing this in the media is a way for me to differentiate myself because what I do is very, very unique and very niche.
Nice.
Great answer. Ludovina?
Sí. En Cantus Kitchen no nos hemos enfocado en hacer diferencia con otros, no hemos visto realmente la competencia, pero sí hemos trabajado en nuestras recetas que son ancestrales. Puedes traducirme, Amalia. No quiero seguir
In her business, they really haven't seen or paid much attention to the competition. They work within their environment, but they are focusing on ancestral cooking.
siempre con un toque moderno y esto lo hace irresistible a nuestros clientes. Tenemos unos clientes muy leales, los cuales siento que realmente han llegado a nosotros por una invitación que les hacemos.
So they have very loyal clients, so they are always customizing and giving them what they want, and they're trying to please their clients because this is where where they work.
Para nosotros iniciar el trato con nuestros clientes, la primera visita, la primera
Check.
Go.
Give her yours.
Your mic
Okay,
doesn't
we'll just
work, or
mic
doesn't
quit
work.
working. We'll Adrian,
That's okay.
as we get that fixed, go ahead and
Absolutely.
what market strategies have you seen people to differentiate themselves? Have you seen out there in the market?
When it comes to competition, you mean?
Yes.
We all have competition. We do. It's just you have to understand. I'm going to give an example of a couple of companies that had a big problem, and that's Bluebell. Look, they had an ice cream contamination, right? A listeria that ended up, 3 people passed away. People will not stop eating ice cream just because that happened. A lot of the ISDs they had to remove the ice cream out of the schools. And also, too, as well, the stadiums, they have to remove the ice cream by law. They still sell ice cream. It just happens to be another brand. You have to understand that food safety has a lot to do with it when it comes to your costs, too, as well, and your clients. Look, Chipotle. I'll give it to Chipotle. They made a comeback, but they lost a lot of money, too, as well. They almost lost $1 billion because once it made the news, and it happened in Washington State, and it happened in New England. It didn't happen in Texas, but just relating the name Chipotle to an outbreak, it had an effect in the whole United States. So food safety, when it comes to that, is extremely important. Know how to handle it, how to control it, how to avoid that contamination that has an effect on competition, because we do have competition. As I mentioned, we don't have Bluebell at the school districts anymore. They have ice cream, it's just another brand.
Oh, very good. Okay, thank you for that. We're going to move on to our next question, and that's labor challenges. Labor challenges, obviously, since COVID, have been plaguing the food service industry for a long time, and anybody that's been in this industry knows that. And it's since COVID, many employment opportunities outside of our industry have increased pay and benefits, leaving restaurants with a record number of open positions, and we all know this. It was a government policy that impacted us nationwide and also worldwide. And my question to you is, what innovative strategies have you implemented to overcome labor shortages, and how have these impacted your restaurant's efficiency and service quality? I'm going to start with Amali on this one.
Yes, for me, because I have such a unique business, I don't have employees. I have actually one employee. My husband works with me. He does my books. He keeps my book inventory.
There's probably labor laws there we need to enforce.
Aside from that, if I have an event where I am presenting and I am cooking on stage, or I am cooking in a commercial kitchen of a corporation, hey, watch out, the health inspector is here. So a lot of the cooking I do is on site. A lot of the cooking is in corporations. If I am doing cooking for 30, 100 people, 200 people, my strategy is to hire subcontractors. These are relationships that I have developed through the years. My business is almost 20 years old, so during this time, my business has morphed from what used to be a catering business. And so that was a very good training ground for me, because I have a very good understanding of how the food service environment works, how inspectors inspect kitchens. I am also a professional chef, so I have the credentials of safe food handling. So those are strategies that I use in my business to control labor costs. Also, I pay my employees or my subcontractors really well, because I want people who represent me to represent me well. And well-paid employees tend to be higher paid and better trained.
Oh, very good. So I'm going to direct this next to the caterer and the restaurateur here, right? And we'll finish up with Adrian. So what strategies have you guys, both of you, used in the catering business as well as the restaurant business? And also you talk a little bit about your other concepts you have there, Erasmo, to how you're using, what you're doing to save labor.
Yeah, so ever since I started my first business, which was a recreational cooking school, I mean, we're making people pay us to show them how to make a plate, and they make the food. But we built it in a nice little spot. I mean, with that space, we started with 5 employees. When we opened up another restaurant, or the restaurant Lucina, that jumped up to a total of 36 employees. Then with this past restaurant that we just opened up last month, we're now at 75 employees. Okay. Now, I can tell you, and this is not an exaggeration, I was just counting while you were talking about your subcontractors. In that time, I've lost 17 people in 6 years. And we need to get back to teaching the next generation of professionals. Servers, bartenders, dish, steward, whatever you want to. We have to get back to it. If we give them a goal and we set them. And we take the time with each individual staff member, team member. They're going to buy into not you as a person, but into the whole ethos of it all. What are we doing? What are we representing? With the cooking school, it was, oh yeah, we're going to show people that they can make some bomb-ass food too, that like you see on Food Network, with a drink in hand and a nice little spot. Fantastic. I like that. With Lucina, we're going to put Latin American cuisine on the map, and not necessarily on the map, but make people value it. How do we stand behind that? How do we make our team members believe in that messaging? And the same thing with Chiquita. We were able to grow our people that started with us 6 years ago into management positions, so they see that growth and the potential, and now they're able to disseminate that knowledge into that next generation. It's a very proud thing for me to be able to see and look back at. It's pretty cool.
Grow a generation, the next generation.
Yeah.
Ludmina?
Ahora sí, ahora sí. En Cantu's Kitchen hemos implementado horarios flexibles para mantener nuestro personal, también un salario competitivo.
At Cantu's Kitchen, we have implemented a schedule to maintain a competitive salary scheme.
Friendly schedule and competitive pay, right?
Yes, it is. Thank you. Okay. Esto nos ha ayudado a que nuestro personal se sienta tranquilo y a gusto con nosotros porque también pueden desempeñarse en el lado personal.
This translates into our employees feeling more comfortable,
Yes.
and so that they can better perform in at work.
Constantemente estamos en entrenamientos, en capacitación, que esto les hace crecer tanto en su ámbito de educación o personal. Y también otra de las cosas que nos preocupamos mucho es cómo están ellos emocionalmente.
So we constantly give them training. We care about their well-being, especially their mental well-being.
Esto nos ha ayudado ya que no solamente ellos se van a sentir bien, sino que también a la hora de laborar van a darnos un mayor rendimiento.
Because happy employees are going to translate into better performing employees.
Y por consecuencia, nuestros clientes van a ser los más afortunados y vamos nosotros en Cantu's Kitchen a facturar mucho más.
And as a consequence, our clients, this translates into happy clients, and that they can get more revenues as a result.
Thank you. Thank
Adrian,
you.
what have you seen out there?
Labor cost?
What are people doing to overcome those challenges?
Well, when it comes to labor, just remember this. Any food handler, anybody that works in a food establishment has to be certified, correct? Whether you're touching clean equipment, whether you washing dishes, being a bartender, being a waiter or a cook, the food establishment doesn't have to pay. It's not mandatory that you pay for their certification. That's something they have to have. Call me old school, but that's the way I was raised. I had to have my own certifications. And even though I disagree a little bit about babying so much, people, I guess today's generation is a little bit different. Nonetheless, that's why I raised my boys to be Marines since they're 18 years old, so they can go out there in the workforce and do what they need to do, because it's a job that we have to have. Nonetheless, when it comes to the labor costs, I really don't. All I can say is about the certifications. It's not mandatory that you have to pay for it. They have to have. That's their certificate. That's something. That's part of their tools. I was a dishwasher when I was a teenager. I learned how to do that. I was a cook too as well. I had a chef that said, buy you on thermometer and your own knife. I said, okay, that's what we do. I think that's one way of doing it.
Oh, very good. Well, as president of the Hispanic Restaurant Association, we deal with hundreds of restaurants and chefs and back of the house. Well, what I've seen, what we really need to do, and I hear it here, and what they've said is leadership, training, education, and culture. And we can build all that together, that we can really, really change. And that's one of the things we're doing. This is kind of off script from this panel, but our booth is over there. We're talking about launching our own certified culinary professional instead of having to send them through the school. It's about a year program. It's going to be very robust, but it's exactly what they've been doing in their restaurants and what they see out there. So I'd encourage you to talk to us about that. So we have about 12 minutes left. I'm going to go to the next question. Is all the things you've learned over the years, all of you, and very experienced, what innovative strategies and unique approaches have you implemented to make your restaurant direct distinctly different and a standout in the community? I think, Erasmo, you said something that was very different answer. You know, that's kind of cool. So, but I'm going to ask all of you, what have you seen, what have you done that helps you stand out? And I'm going to use the term, you create that rising tide of lifting all boats. And we're going to start with Emali on this one.
Yes, because of the unique nature of my business, after coming from corporate background and becoming a full-time entrepreneur, for me, it was very obvious that education about who we are as Latinos, the difference between a Mexican, a Guatemalan, and a Colombian is similar yet distinctly different. We have nuances. And the more diverse we become, the more that education is. So for me, the platform is Latin American traditional cuisine. So one of the strategies for me was to become an author, because when you're an author, when you're a writer, you're telling stories and you're sharing your culture with people and you're telling them the differences. One book wasn't enough. I have a second book, and I am working on my third one because I have a lot more to say. So if you're interested in my books, booth 422, visit me, please. But also for me, it's important to be part of a big community. I have been in the Twin Cities, that's Minnesota, for those of you who don't know where the Twin Cities is. The Twin Cities is a very fertile environment for us Latinos. When I arrived in the Twin Cities, there were not very many Latinos. So for me, it has been a very good environment to build a business. We have 17 Fortune 500 companies there, 3M, Best Buy, and many of the big brands that you know that are global companies are all my clients. And that's a result of living there. So it's a very holistic environment. But being part of the community has been important for me. So I've been part of boards of directors. I continue to serve on that. And what that has done for my business and my career, personally and professionally, is to get my brand out there. So that's how people know me. Another strategy that I use is I am in the media constantly. I've been in the Twin Cities for 22 years, so I am on NPR on a regular basis and on all the major stations, local major stations, educating people about Latin America. And I use a platform of a dish. I may connect that with a holiday. And I find an excuse to be out there to continue to bring our Latin American cuisine to the forefront so that more people know about us.
Very good. Lubina, I'm going to ask you that same question.
Gracias. Tener una estrategia de mercado definitivamente es clave o es el éxito asegurado para cualquier negocio. En Cantu's Kitchen, lo que hemos establecido desde el inicio, porque nosotros iniciamos en un garaje de casa, desde el inicio hicimos mucho contacto con nuestra comunidad.
So from the very beginning, you started in your garage?
Yes.
And from the very beginning, they started making contact with the community.
El contacto que hicimos con nuestra comunidad fue hacerles saber que estábamos ahí no solamente para servir un plato de comida, sino para servirles a ellos.
The community touch came from to let them know that they were not just serving food, but they were there to serve them.
En Houston, de donde soy originaria, bueno, de donde está nuestro negocio, Cantu's Kitchen, hemos pasado huracanes, hemos pasado tormentas, heladas, y Cantu's Kitchen está ahí para ofrecerle a nuestra comunidad un plato de comida caliente cuando hay necesidades.
So when natural disasters strike, Cantu's Kitchen is always there to serve the community, to give them a warm plate of food. So they are a community partner.
Realmente siento que hemos establecido una relación muy estrecha con nuestra comunidad. porque no solamente estamos en esos momentos de desesperación o angustia, sino que ellos nos llaman una y otra vez y hasta nos refieren cuando tienen eventos de celebraciones para sus familias.
Because of the sense of community they have created, when their clients have needs of any kind, they are the ones that they think of and call first for these kinds of celebrations and events.
Esto es lo que yo siento que ha llevado a que Cantu's Kitchen sea una marca reconocida no solamente en Houston, porque trabajamos todos los alrededores, y otra de las cosas es que, contrariamente a los que se piensan, es manejada por familia.
So this is one of the reasons their brand, Cantu's Kitchen, is known in the Houston and surrounding area.
Gracias.
Very good. And I also saw Adrian turn his head when she said we started in my garage. He went,
Yes.
I saw that. So I'm going to
En
limit
mi
this
garage.
last question to Erasmo. It's probably going to be similar to what you said earlier.
Oh yeah, the same question.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, you know, it's about the people. I mean, the hospitality, restaurant and you know, restaurant, bar, food and beverage, what do you want to call it, is part of the hospitality industry. And I think one of the most important things that we have forgotten is hospitality. You know, so one of the, I don't know if you want to call it innovative things, it's just going back to the basics. I mean, like if you think about the first restaurant that opened up, what was it? It was some type of hotel type situation where it's just like, hello, we were a traveler. What can I do for you? I'm just like, I need a place to stay and I'm hungry and a place to shower if possible. Cool, come back down in 30 minutes. That's hospitality. So we want to make sure that our restaurants have that same welcoming thought process. Like as soon as somebody walks through the door, it's not an inconvenience. We're here to serve you. That's why we opened up our doors. And being able to, kind of jumping off of Adrian's point, being able to train that next generation and have them have enough motivation to go, you know, push themselves into their own development, professional development, that's where we start winning. That's where the work starts getting done together. Not for me, but for all of us, especially everybody that's in a restaurant. Within those four walls, there's not one role that's more important than the other. And if every cog in the wheel is well lubricated, well taken care of, I think that's one of the most important things that we really need to like take away from all that. So.
Thank you. Great answers all there. And once again, as the Restaurant Association, our goal, basically, if we take away all the fancy words and you know the mission statement, the vision, is to professionalize our community so we can be advanced and be the forefront of the food service community. As we all know, the Hispanic community makes up 60, 70, 80% of the food service industry in the U.S. And Erasmo made a great point earlier about let's come out of the shadows and be in the front. Let's develop our own leadership programs. Let's develop our own education programs. And that's what we're doing as an association. And our goal is to showcase excellence. And that's what we have here, is to showcase excellence in the community. So with that, thank you, our panelists, for sharing your expertise, your ideas, and your ideas here today. So we've covered labor, inflation, education, and some of the other things. I'm going to open up the last 4 minutes to the audience. What kind of questions do you have for any of these?
Don't be shy. Raise your hands.
Before we start the questions, you have a card, and that allows you to enter a drawing for a grant, $1,000, that you may win at 3 o'clock for attending this panel. So please make sure that you filled it out and you put it in that crystal, what is it called? I don't even know what it's called.
Your raffle wheel.
Crystal thing.
Yeah, the raffle wheel. And at 3 o'clock, right here, we're gonna name the winner of $1,000 grant. So make sure that you are a food service company and that you leave your card there, please. Any questions for this wonderful panel? Thank you so much. There has to be some questions here.
There's a question.
There he
I
goes.
man in the back right there. I knew he was going to have a question.
Hi, my name's Harry. I work for a Juntos Crecemos program in the back. Sorry, is this good? What part has digitization played in promoting your business, connecting with the community, and sharing your story?
I can answer that. A lot of what I do, because I don't have a restaurant, is depend on social media. I also have a virtual kitchen from where I teach globally. So I mentioned that I teach to corporations, and many of these corporations are global. So when they hire me, with the beauty of one link, I can go global. I can go anywhere. This is a part of my business that was born during the pandemic, because before the pandemic, I was doing many of these presentations in person. And we all know what happened during the pandemic. So my live events went down, and then these companies still were looking for a way to connect with their employees globally. How do we do that? And guess what? We've always had technology, digital technology, such as Zoom and FaceTime, and many of the other platforms that people use to communicate in video. And so now that has become popular all over again. We've had it, and now we use it. I use that. I am very active on social media. So for me, it's a way to connect with prospective clients, to keep connected with the clients that I already have, and to tell my stories. Because in addition to telling my stories in person when I am presenting with food, I can also tell those stories on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So for me, that has been a very good avenue, because again, I don't have a storefront, and so I have to make an extra effort to be out there using any technology that I have available to me.
Can I answer that too? What helped me is being bilingual and being knowledgeable of what I'm doing. Because as I mentioned before, everybody gets scared about the health department. The health department is there to help you out. They want you to succeed. They want you to open up a food establishment. They just don't want you to contaminate somebody. That's it. I mean, you are welcome to open a food establishment. You're paying for a permit. You're paying taxes. You're bringing in people from other places. But my job, my contribution on that is to make sure I'm knowledgeable and I'm able to communicate that with any food establishment, especially being bilingual. One thing I don't do, because I'm from El Paso, but I've lived here since I was a teenager. I know the way it works over there in Mexico, the way it works over here in the United States, is people understanding food safety. I don't cut corners, because I get those phone calls. I don't have time to go to class. Can you certify me? I'll completely say no. Don't. I don't have that reputation. My reputation is good, and that's why I do presentations too as well. And I'm a part of Texas Environmental Health Association too as well. And I also go to the Capitol, and we try to block some laws or pass some laws too as well. This is the FDA book. This is the laws that I have to follow. No health inspector has laws. We have them right here. We just enforce them. I have gone toe-to-toe with another health inspector and asked them, how come you documented this? Show me where it is in the book. If not, you're going to have to take it off. Knowledge is what the country